I've been getting a ton of questions about how I set up my telemetry widgets here on my RadioMaster TX16S. If you have a RadioMaster, a Jumper, or any of the other color screen radios that support widgets, then this video is for you. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. The first thing I want to say before we get into this video is that I am using the RadioMaster TX16S and I am running EdgeTX, not OpenTX. If you are running OpenTX, that's fine. The functionality is almost the same between them and you will be able to follow along with this tutorial. One difference might be that I have touchscreen support. And so I'll be poking my touch screen instead of, whereas you're going to be using just your jog wheel, but the basic steps we're going to go through are going to be exactly the same. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to select model and I want to make a new model. So I'm just going to click the jog wheel and create model. And I'm going to do this with a brand new model from scratch so that we're all sort of starting on the same page. Now that the model is created, I'm going to need it to be bound, and this one is bound, so let's just plug in my quad. And now that the model is bound and the receiver is powered up, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press the model key, and then I'm going to page over to the telemetry screen. Telemetry. And I'm going to go down to where it says sensors and hit discover new. And at this point, you should see a bunch of sensors come in. And it may take a second for all of them to come in, but they should all come in. Now, the first thing I want you to notice here is that some of these sensors are coming directly from your receiver, and others of these sensors are coming from your flight controller. And this is going to affect your ability to follow along with the tutorial as we go forward. So if we look right here, we see, for example, one RSS, and that is the signal strength for antenna number 1. This is not a diversity receiver, so it only has one antenna. One RSS is negative 52 dB. 2 RSS would be the signal strength for the second antenna, which this receiver doesn't have it, so it reads 0 dB. RQLY, that's link quality. RSNR, that's the signal to noise ratio. RF mode, that is the, if it's 50 hertz versus 150 hertz versus 250 hertz for Express LRS, or for Crossfire if it's 50 versus 150 hertz, etc. The key thing is that all of these telemetry sensors are coming straight from the receiver. And if we had a receiver just plugged into a power supply on the bench, not soldered up to a flight controller at all, we would get these sensors. There are other sensors which we can see are coming from the flight controller, like, for example, pitch, roll, and yaw. And as I move the quadcopter, there we go, we can kind of see those updating every now and then. They're not actually updating that frequently, but receiver battery, RxBat. That's my battery voltage, right? That's coming from the flight controller. And the reason I point this out is if you haven't set your flight controller up correctly, you may not be getting sensors from the flight controller. For example, the simplest thing you could do wrong in the configuration tab in Betaflight, if you don't enable the telemetry option, you won't get any of the flight controller sensors. If you have your wiring done wrong, or there are various things you can do. So this isn't going to be a video about troubleshooting telemetry, because this is a video about widgets, but suffice it to say that if you don't see some of these sensors like RxBat, you're not going to be able to follow along with some of the things that I'm going to do here in the video. But I've got all these sensors coming in, and they're all being updated periodically, and we are ready to proceed. So I'll hit stop. I'll stop discovering. I've got those sensors imported. You only need to do this one time for each type of receiver that you use. So if you have Express LRS, maybe if there's a new version of Express LRS that changes something about the way the telemetry is reported, you might need to delete all, and discover new again. But most of the time you do this once, and then you're done for that type of receiver. So now we're back at the main screen, and I'm going to press the telemetry button here. Why is it the telemetry button if it takes you to widget setup? I don't know. That's just what they've labeled it. And we're going to come to this widget setup screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the top bar. So I'm just going to hit, you'll see right up here, top bar is what's selected, or we can select screen 1, or we can even add additional screens if we want. But I'm just going to select the top bar and hit set up widgets. And the top bar lets us put various things across this top bar, and I'll show you what I like to do. Over here on the very left, I like to put RxBat. That is my quadcopter's battery voltage. So I'm going to highlight that and click the jog wheel one time and select widget. And then I'm going to select the value widget. And the source for this value is going to be, and here the touchscreen is going to come in handy because I can just scroll up here and I can select the telemetry category. Hello, not making me look good. There we go. I select the telemetry category down here. Otherwise, you just have to scroll through the whole list with your jog wheel. And I'm going to look for the RxBat telemetry sensor. There it is. RxBat. RxBat is used by ExpressOS, Crossfire, and I believe Ghost. If you have FreeSky and you're doing SmartPort telemetry, I believe the sensor is called VFAS, V-F-A-S, not RxBat. I just named it something different. And once that's done, I'm just going to hit return and back out. And now we can see we've got RxBat right here in the upper left. Next thing I like to put here is the transmit power. And again, I'm going to do select widget, value, source, telemetry. So I can just scroll through. It's going to take me for frickin' ever. So I'm just going to come up here on the side and go to telemetry. And it's going to be T-Power, I believe is what it's called. T-Power. And that is useful if you have dynamic power in Crossfire, for example, where it can turn the power down and up as the quad gets further away. You can see what the output power currently is. Or if you have static power, it can just remind you what your transmit power is. Oh, I'm at 250 milliwatts. Well, maybe I'd like to turn that up or down. I don't know. That's what I like to see. Next thing I want to do is I like to put over here in the far right side, I like to put the controller's battery voltage. So I can, and yeah, we've got a battery voltage readout here, but I like to see a number. So I'm going to click there and select widget and value. And this is a little annoying because for source, if you select any of these categories on the left, you can't find the battery voltage anymore. You just have to scroll through the list. I don't know why that is. It's not in any of the categories, but it is here in the main list. And as I scroll through the list, I'm going to find BAT. And that is the controller's battery itself. And we're going to back out of that. There's my battery voltage for my controller. And then the last thing I like to do is up here, I like to put the model name. You can actually, there is a model image you can choose where you got a unique image, a bitmap or whatever, and you can just display that automatically here on screen, but I like to use that screen real estate for other things. So what I do is I just take a text value. So I can put the model bitmap there, but it's so small it doesn't look good to me. I don't like it. So I'm just going to take a text value, and for the text, and here's where that touch screen is going to come in real freaking handy. I'm going to just put a space because I want a little spacing on the left. I found ELRS, enter, and then for color, I'll just make it white. Make it white, and then I find it looks good if I put a shadow on it as well. And so now up at the top, I can easily see which model I've got loaded. And now we're going to come back to this telemetry screen. I'm going to tap on screen number 1, and I'm going to change the layout. The layout that I like to use is a 1x3 or a 1+3 layout. And I also like to turn off flight mode because I don't use flight modes. And that's fine. And then I'll hit set up widgets. And on the left side here, the widget that I like to use is the outputs widget, which just shows me the output of my first 10 channels, which I find is really handy to have on screen as I'm just sort of setting up my switches and just making sure that everything, my channels are centered correctly and so forth. Just a handy thing to have on screen. That's how I like to do it. And then for this widget here, we're going to do the exact same thing as before. We're going to choose a value. It's going to be a telemetry value. And right there, we're going to have the RF mode. Okay, RF mode. The next one down, I like to have the RSSI, value, source, RSSI, 1 RSS. And the next one, I like to have the link quality, RQLY. Value, telemetry, nope, telemetry, LQY, RQLY. There we go. We'll plug that back in and we can see that data in real time. Ooh, that doesn't, yeah, hang on. That doesn't, you can't really read that very easily, can you? Let's go to widget settings and turn on shadow. That's better. Widget settings, shadow, widget settings, shadow, shadow. There we go. Okay, perfect. And that is actually how I set up most all of my models. And some people may be thinking, well, you know, there's a ghost widget. There's an immersion RC. Thank you. There's an immersion RC ghost widget that shows some of that info. But I number one, some of the widgets haven't been updated to run on EdgeTX yet. I'm not sure about the ghost one. But number two, this works without any like customized widgets. It works for Crossfire, it works for Express LRS, it works for Ghost. I have the exact same information in the exact same place on all of those models. And to me, that has some value. In fact, the main thing that's annoying, and I hope the EdgeTX devs are thinking about this, is the inability to copy these settings, these layouts, as part of a theme. So in EdgeTX, I can change the theme, but it just changes the colors. It doesn't actually carry the widget layout with it. And I really desperately wish that it did, because right now I have to manually set this up on all of my models. So here's my Crossfire model, manually set that up. Ghost, Express LRS, yeah, so that's a little bit annoying, but what can you do? I hope that's been helpful. I hope that has given you some idea of ways that you can set up your widgets with telemetry, and you can put all kinds of any information that you want really as one of these widgets on screen. In fact, if you really want to, you could even add another main view. Add main view. Now we have two main views, you see, and we can set this second main view up, I don't know, whenever we want. I don't know. Timer, right? We can do that however we want. And then here on the main screen, we can just switch between those views if we so desire. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you have found it educational. It's helped you out. If it has helped you out, I hope that you'll consider joining my Patreon. I've got a link down in the video description to Patreon, which is a website where you can subscribe to me for as little as $2 a month. As a benefit, you get access to my Discord server where you can talk to a whole bunch of other people who are super, super helpful. And you get access to podcasts of my live streams, which I put up on Patreon. If you're not there yet, that's fine. I give away all my content for free. And I hope that someday you will feel like I've earned it. And when that day comes, the link's down below. If today's that day for you, thank you so much. Welcome to the club. Happy flying, everybody. What are you doing in here? The least you could do is subscribe or join my Patreon, or like just here's another video I picked out for you. Jeez.